welcome to the 𝗦𝗵𝗲 show. We're always excited to have you, always excited to be with you, to impart our knowledge onto you. So, 80% is showing up. And you know what is really important is 80% is just showing up. And you guys always show up every morning, and we really acknowledge you for that. So give yourselves a pat on the back to take an action, showing up, because what we're sharing with you, it really is important, and how it can change your life and business too. So thank you for joining us. So today my amazing co-host Ria is going to be sharing the conversation. And welcome to the show, guys. My name is 𝗥𝗵𝗲.
My name is Ria, and
welcome to our show. Sure. All right, Ria, I'm going to pass the mic on to you.
Thank you, 𝗥𝗵𝗲. Today's topic is Increase Our Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. And today, particularly, is the second type of budget, which is budget surplus. So let me share my screen and we can proceed. So the second type of budget that we are going to discuss today is budget surplus. Now, first key takeaway. I'd like to define things, and Barron's definition, Barron's Finance and Investment Handbook says, surplus is an excess of income versus spending. Whether it is by the government, government, the business, or the individual. 2, we have to note surplus is excess income versus spend. 3rd, and this does not necessarily mean that we have to live below our means. So when we have budget surplus, this does not necessarily mean that we have to live below our means. 4th, although reducing our expenses, living below our means can lead to excess of income. 5, lesson number 5. The book says it does mean that we should focus on creating income versus reducing our expense versus living below our means. We should focus on creating more income. Therefore, increase financial IQ, which is the financial IQ number 1, make more money is important. lesson number 6. Lesson number 7. This is about excess, abundance of income, not scarcity of income, excess, surplus of income, rather decreasing expense or living below our means. Now let's take a look at the budget surplus of the government. And we're also going to take a look at the budget surplus of the company, the budget surplus of the individual. Today, we're going to take a look at the budget surplus of the government so we have a better understanding. So first lesson on budget surplus of the government is that the government, if they have surplus, may choose to, one, either they can start new programs if they have a surplus, or they can cut our taxes. That would be great. Now, however, there are issues. There are issues with this statement, because I've never seen a government with surplus. They're always deficit, and that's why we have tax increases all the time. So remember, if the government has surplus, then they can start new programs and even cut back on taxes. However, like I said, there are issues with this statement. Now, third, this is how the government contract works. This will help us better understand things. So, if the government, number 3, if the government creates the government creates the surplus, then it is efficient and it saves money. Now, what happens if the government creates the surplus, it is efficient and saves money? What happens is that the agency is punished instead of being rewarded. By having next year's budget reduced. So let me repeat that. So if the government creates surplus and is efficient and saves money, the agency is instead punished instead of being rewarded. And what do? The agency's budget gets reduced by next year. So that was number 4. Number 5, so to avoid most government agencies spend all their budget money or budgeted money even they have to spend all of it even if they don't need to. Number 6, this means that the cost keeps going up. Keeps on going up because they have to spend the leftover money so that there's nothing in the coffer. And therefore, the chances of the government budget surplus are slim to none. That's lesson number 6. Lesson number 7, in other words, the government bureaucrats they are designed to operate on a budget deficit. And regardless of who is in power, our taxes will go up. It will go up. So let's recap. Today's topic is from the book Increase Our Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. So today's topic is second type of budget from the book Increase Our Financial IQ, specifically on budget surplus. And today I'm going to talk about the budget surplus of the government. And on the next succeeding shows, I'll talk about the budget deficit of the business and the budget deficit of the individual. For today, let's define budget surplus. So according to Barron's Finance and Investment Handbook, Barron's definition means surplus is an excess of income versus spending. Whether you're a business, you're a government, or you're an individual. Second, note, surplus means excess of income versus spending. Third key takeaway is that it does not necessarily mean that one has to live below our means. Now, although if we decrease our expenses and we live below our means, yes, that will give us excess of income. Lesson number 5. The book means that we should focus on creating income, create a surplus. Lesson number 6, financial IQ number 1, which is make more money, is important. And that's why it's number 1, make more money. Lesson number 7, this is about excess of income rather than cutting our expenses, rather than living below our means. So let's talk on the budget surplus of the government. Lesson number 1. The government with surplus may choose, if there is a surplus, they may choose to start a new program or cut on taxes. And how great it is if we cut back on our taxes. Lesson number 2. There are issues with this statement. I've never seen my taxes cut back. In fact, they have been going up. And this is the reason why. Lesson number 3. And this is how the government contract works. Let me explain. So when the government creates a surplus or an excess of income, what happens? If they create a surplus, then they're efficient and they save money. Now, what happens to that? The agency is punished instead of being rewarded. By how are they being punished? By having the agency's budget next year reduced. So if your budget next year is being reduced and you're the head of the agency, would you want to create a surplus? Of course not, because then next year you'll have a problem because you'll have less money coming in. Your budget gets reduced. Lesson number 5. To avoid this, most government agencies spends all their budgeted money, even if they don't need to. 6 key takeaway. This means that the cost keeps on going up and the chances of the government's budget surplus are slim to none. 7 key takeaway. In other words, the government bureaucrats are designed, by default, they are designed to operate on a budget deficit. And regardless who is in power, guess what? Our taxes, our biggest expense, will always go up. So those are my lessons today. I hope you learned something. Please let me know in the comment section below what you learned. And hopefully you stay tuned for more Alka and Ria show.
Ria, that was great. You know what? I've not heard the government reducing taxes. Taxes are going up. They go up. You know, right now we're in an economic downturn. You know, the economy, interest rates is up, inflation is up, taxes are just going up. I mean, it'd be great if the governments took that into consideration and reduced the taxes, but that's just not going to happen.
That is not going to happen.
No, it doesn't happen. Does not happen. But you know what? What was interesting is that the surplus, what was interesting point is that we don't need to live within our means, right? Because, I mean, okay, so what am I doing? I'm cutting back on some things. And what am I cutting back on? I'm cutting back, now this is just my personal choice, but this is what I choose to do. I've cut back on my cable. If I'm not using, you know, watching some particular shows, why am I paying for that? So I've cut back on my cable. I've cut back on dining out. I used to love dining out. I used to love 5-star restaurants. You know, if it was gourmet restaurants, I will love it. I've cut back on that. Now, that's my personal choice. Some people still go, and that's fine. That's your choice. So, you know, cutting back on some things, but that does not mean we have to live within our means. That was an interesting point for me.
Yes, that is correct. Living, it doesn't mean that we have to live below our means. What I have done is I've tried to increase income. So what I've done over the past couple of months, you know, going back last year, was I've bought several properties, because if we remember, an asset puts money into your pocket. If you know what you are doing, and if you trust the asset, the fear would be, there will always be fear. I'm even fearful, but I lean into my fears, because why? I trust the asset. If the asset is good in great location, you know that the money is coming in. So that's what I've done over the several months, is I've increased my income through borrowing debt, good debt, and purchasing assets such as apartments.
Yeah, I mean, assets, you can never go wrong. Assets, it doesn't matter, investment and properties, you can never go wrong, because it doesn't matter what the climate, it doesn't matter what the economy, hot, cold, neutral markets. Investment in properties always pay off, will always pay you off. So, you know what? And when it comes to governments, and we've had this conversation, when it comes to the governments, whether it's a deficit, whether it's a surplus, whether if they lose the money, spend all the money that they have, they can at least at some point somehow they have the money to replenish. But whereas with us, individuals, we go into bankruptcy, we go into the deficit. It's hard to sort of make those ends meet.
I agree. And you know what, the government gets away with it by either printing money and increasing our taxes, and that's how they get the income.
That's right.
They print more money and they increase our taxes.
I know. Okay, so it's like a no-win. It's like a no-win situation, because they're going to increase the taxes, and then how fun is that when that happens? So as individuals, we're always at a loss. But Ria, you know what? This conversation is, it's great because it's relevant and it's what people need to know.
Well, what I can say is not really a loss, because now we know what the government is doing. We're in the middle of printing money, and we're in the middle of this high inflation, high taxes. So what we can do is equip ourselves with knowledge. And once we have more knowledge, then we should think of our future. What can I do, right? What can I do to prepare myself? So yes, you could be an employee, but that's not your end all be all. Create something. Solve your government's problem, because you have to understand that you are either a silent partner of the government or you are an active partner. A silent partner means you are an employee working for your employer. If you want to be an active partner of the government, so now you be the employer. Try to solve your community's problem. So in the beginning, when you start, you may not have employees. So you yourself are an employee. You are now an active partner of the government. When we are an active partner of the government, not a silent partner, when you are an active partner, you will be rewarded by the government. Why? They are incentivizing all businesses, all active partners of the government, by reducing our taxes, because the government cannot solve all its problems. So that's why we, as our patriotic duty, is to solve our government's problem. So do you want to be a silent partner, or do you want to be an active partner of the government, where you will get this tax benefits?
Exactly. Well, I know where I would be. But Ria, thank you. That was amazing conversation. Amazing. And guys, listen, if you've enjoyed this conversation, let us know what you thought, and we'll always appreciate your thoughts. But we've come to the end of another amazing conversation, amazing show. That thank you for tuning in each and every time. But we value you. So take actions. Implement on what we teach you, because knowledge is just knowledge, but knowledge with implementation is the right way to go. It's taking actions on what we are, what we teach you and what you are learning. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, and we appreciate you. So make the rest of the day the best of your day, and we will see you the same time, same place